I still remember that night. The silence in our home was heavier than any storm I've ever faced. It wasn't the kind of silence that gives peace. It was the kind that breaks something inside you, slowly, painfully. My wife leaned by the door, all dressed up. Her black dress shimmered under the dim hallway light, and the scent of her perfume filled the space between us. She looked beautiful, but I couldn't see beauty that night. All I saw was distance, a distance that had grown between us, inch by inch, argument by argument, silence by silence. We'd been married for 6 years, not perfect years, but good ones. At least, that's what I believed. Until she started spending more time with her new group of friends, people I barely knew, people I didn't trust. It began with small things, late night texts, hushed phone calls, and laughter that didn't sound like the laughter we used to share. I noticed the changes, but I told myself I was just over. That's what love does to you. You give the other person the benefit of the doubt, even when your heart is screaming the truth. That evening, we'd argued about the party. I didn't want her to go. It wasn't about control or jealousy. It was about something deeper, a feeling. You know when something doesn't sit right inside your gut, that quiet warning that whispers, "Don't let this happen." I asked her not to go. I said, "Lena, can't we just stay home tonight? We've barely talked all week." She looked at me, eyes sharp, tone cold. "You don't own me, Mark. It's just a party. I need to relax." I tried to stay calm. "I'm not saying you can't go. I feel like we're slipping apart. Can we please spend one evening together?" But she didn't want to hear it. She just grabbed her purse, her phone, and walked past me. I stood there, frozen, watching the door close behind her. The sound of that door shutting felt like a final note in a song I didn't want to end. And that's when the silence began. The kind that fills your chest like smoke and doesn't leave. I sat on the couch for hours, just staring at the wall. The clock ticked, the fridge hummed. I checked my phone 100 times, no messages, not a single one. I told myself maybe she'd call, maybe she'd text, maybe she'd even come back early, but nothing. Around midnight, I turned off the lights and sat there in the dark. The blue glow of my phone lighting my face every few minutes. I wanted to sleep, but my mind wouldn't stop. Where was she? Who was she with? Was she thinking about me at all? I remembered our early days together, how she'd laugh at my stupid jokes, how she'd fall asleep on my shoulder while watching movies, how she used to reach for my hand without even thinking. Those memories felt like ghosts haunting me that night. The longer I sat there, the more the anger mixed with sadness, because it wasn't just that she went to the party, it was that she chose it over me, over us. I poured myself a drink I didn't even want, hoping it would calm my chest, but it didn't. It just made the silence louder. Around 2 a.m., I finally went to bed, though I didn't sleep. I left the bedroom light on, hoping maybe it would guide her home, like a signal in the dark. But she didn't come. When the sun rose, I was still awake. The bed beside me was cold, untouched, and I realized something inside me had shifted. The trust, the connection, the quiet understanding that holds a marriage together. It all felt fragile now. She didn't text, didn't call, not even a single word to say she was okay. I sat by the window, watching people start their morning routines. Life was moving on out there, while mine felt stuck in the longest night of my life. Around 8 a.m., I finally heard the door open. The sound of her heels echoed softly against the floor. I didn't turn immediately. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I didn't know what I'd see when I looked at her. Then she spoke. Her voice was quiet, almost trembling. "Mark, I'm back." Something in her tone made my heart drop. I turned slowly, and what I saw wasn't the same woman who had left last night. Her eyes were swollen, her makeup smudged, her dress creased. She looked broken. She didn't even meet my eyes. She just stood there, holding her purse like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. "What happened?" I asked. My voice came out rough, tired. She didn't answer. She just shook her head and said softly, "I don't want to talk about it." But I needed answers. Where had she been all night? Why hadn't she called? And why did she look like she'd been crying for hours? "Lena," I said again, "what happened?" She looked at me for a second, her lips trembling. Then she said, "Please, just let me rest. I'll explain later." She walked past me, into the bedroom, and closed the door, and I stood there in the same silence again. Except this time, it wasn't mine, it was hers. A silence full of something she didn't want to say. But that's the thing. About silence, it speaks louder than words when you know someone's hiding pain. I didn't follow her. I just sat down again, listening to the faint sounds of her sobs coming from behind the door. That morning, I realized something I never wanted to believe sometimes. Love isn't destroyed by betrayal, but by secrets that grow too heavy to carry. I told myself I'd give her space, that she'd come to me when she was ready, but deep down, something was already breaking. Because when you love someone, and they come home with tears they won't explain, you start to wonder if they're crying for you, or because of something or someone else. That day passed in silence. She stayed in the bedroom. I stayed outside, pacing, drinking coffee that went cold before I finished it. By evening, she finally came out. Her eyes were still red, but her face was calm. To calm down, she said, "Mark, can we not talk about last night, please?" And those words hit harder than anything else, because when someone you love refuses to talk about their pain, it means that pain might not have anything to do with you anymore. Still, I nodded. "Okay," I said quietly, "but when you're ready, I'll listen." She gave me a faint smile, one that didn't reach her eyes, and went to make tea. That's when I noticed something, her phone on the counter, buzzing. A message popped up before she could grab it. It said, "Did you tell him anything?" My heart stopped. She saw me looking. For a moment, everything froze, the air, the light, even time itself. Then she snatched the phone, locked it, and whispered, "It's not what you think." But I'd already thought it, and that thought would haunt me long after that moment. The moment she said, "It's not what you think," I felt my chest tighten, because that's what people say when it's exactly what you think, or worse. Her hands trembled slightly as she put the phone face down on the counter. I could see she was scared, not of me, but of something else, something that had already happened, something she wished she could undo. I didn't shout. I didn't even move closer. I just stood there, watching her, feeling my world tilt a little. The woman who once couldn't hide anything from me, not her joy, not her sadness, now stood there guarding her truth like a secret she'd die with. "Lena," I said quietly, "just tell me the truth, please." Her eyes filled with tears again, but she shook her head. "It's not what you think," she repeated, her voice cracking this time. "I promise, I didn't do anything wrong." "Then why are you crying?" I asked. "Why are you scared? Why won't you tell me who sent that message?" She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed her tea, turned, and walked out to the balcony. Her shoulders were shaking. I wanted to follow, but something stopped me. A voice in my head whispered, "If she wants to lie, she'll lie. If she wants to tell the truth, she will." But pushing her won't change what already happened, so I stayed quiet. For the next hour, I just sat there, listening to the faint sound of her crying outside. That's when I realized how silence can be cruel. When there's nothing left to say, it starts to eat you alive. Later that night, she came inside again. Her face was pale. She sat on the edge of the couch beside me and whispered, "Can you just hold me for a while?" And even though my heart was full of questions, I wrapped my arms around her. Because sometimes, love is heavier than anger. Sometimes you hold someone not because you trust them, but because you still remember what it felt like when you did. She stayed in my arms for a long time, quiet, trembling, and when she finally fell asleep there, I could feel her heartbeat racing against mine, fast, uneven, scared. The next morning, she left early for work. At least, that's what she said. I didn't stop her, but after she left, I sat at the kitchen table staring at her phone, which she'd accidentally left charging on the counter. It was wrong, I know, but love can turn you into someone you never thought you'd be, someone desperate to know the truth. So, I looked. The message from last night was still there. "Did you tell him anything?" I opened the chat. There were only a few messages, short ones. Her friend, or whoever that was, had texted her all through the night. "He's going to ask questions. Don't tell him anything. I'll handle it if he finds out." Then Lena's reply, written at nearly 3 a.m. "I can't do this." I didn't know it would go that far. My hands went cold. I didn't even realize I was shaking until the phone slipped from my grip. Go that far? What was she talking about? What had she done or seen that she didn't expect? I felt sick, but I needed to know more. So I scrolled further up, but most of the older messages were deleted. All I saw were fragments of conversations, enough to make me realize she was hiding something big. I didn't want to believe it. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to think maybe it was all about something innocent, maybe a fight at the party, maybe a misunderstanding, but deep down, I knew. People don't delete innocent conversations. When she came home that evening, she looked exhausted. Her eyes met mine for only a second before she walked straight to the bedroom. I followed her. "Lena," I said quietly, I need to ask you something. Please, don't lie to me. She froze, then turned slowly. I know you read my messages, she said softly. I didn't even try to deny it. I did, because I needed to understand what's going on. She sat down on the bed, her hands covering her face. I didn't want you to find out like this, she whispered. Find out what? I asked. She didn't speak for a long time. The silence stretched between us, thick and painful. Then she said something that changed everything. Something happened at the party, she whispered, something I didn't plan, and I can't stop replaying it in my head. My heart dropped. What do you mean? I asked, my voice shaking. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I went with my friends like I said I would, but there was someone there, someone I used to know. He was drunk. Things got messy. I tried to leave, but people were drinking, laughing, and it all got out of control. I didn't do anything wrong, but it all felt wrong. I didn't understand. Was she saying something happened to her, or that she was part of something she regretted? Lena, please, I said, tell me everything. She looked at me, eyes red and filled with guilt. I shouldn't have gone. I should have listened to you. Her voice cracked again. You told me not to go, and I didn't listen. And now I can't sleep. I can't forget. I felt my throat tighten. I reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. Did someone hurt you? I asked softly. She shook her head slowly. Not like that, but it's complicated. I didn't stop it when I should have. I froze, and now I feel like I betrayed you. Those words cut through me. Betrayed. I wanted to shout, cry, anything, but I couldn't. I just sat there, staring at the woman I loved, realizing that whatever happened that night had already changed everything. Who was it? I asked quietly. She hesitated, then whispered a name, one of her co-workers, a man I'd met once at a dinner, someone she'd always said was just a friend. My hands clenched. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. I stood up, walked to the window, and stared outside. I didn't want her to see the tears forming in my eyes. I swear, nothing happened the way you think, she said behind me. But something did happen, something I can't undo. The truth is, in that moment, I didn't care about the details. I just felt hollow, because betrayal isn't just about what someone does, it's about what they choose not to stop. That night, we didn't sleep. We barely spoke. Every sound in the house felt louder than it should. The ticking clock, the rain outside, the hum of the fridge, all reminders that time was moving, even though I felt stuck. She cried herself to sleep beside me, and I lay there, eyes open, staring at the ceiling, wondering how one night could change 6 years of love. In the morning, I made coffee for both of us. She didn't touch hers. When she finally spoke, her voice was tired, lifeless. Mark, I don't expect you to forgive me, but please, don't hate me. I already hate myself. I wanted to say something, anything, but I couldn't find the right words, because I didn't hate her. I hated the situation. I hated the silence between us, the confusion, the images in my mind that wouldn't leave me alone. She took a small suitcase that morning, said she needed a few days to stay at her sister's place, to clear her head. I just nodded. Maybe space was what we both needed. But when she walked out that door again, the same door she left through that night, I felt that same heavy silence return. Only this time, it didn't feel like loss. It felt like the end. I didn't know then that her few days away would reveal even more than I was ready to handle. Because when she left, I thought the truth had already come out. But the truth hadn't even begun to show itself. The first night after she left, I couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet, too empty, too full of memories that wouldn't fade. Every corner reminded me of her laughter, her voice, her scent, and even though she was gone only a few hours, it already felt like years had passed since she'd touched my hand. I kept replaying everything: her face that morning, her words, that text message, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her crying on that balcony, whispering, I can't forget. I tried to tell myself that space would heal things, that maybe time would make sense of it all. But the truth was, silence doesn't heal anything when it's hiding questions that burn inside you. The next day, I called her sister. I asked, gently, is Lena with you? There was a long pause on the other end before she said, no, I haven't seen her. Is everything okay? My heart sank. She said she was staying with you for a few days. Her sister sounded surprised. No, she didn't say anything like that to me. That's when I felt the floor drop beneath me. If she wasn't at her sister's, then where was she? I tried calling her, no answer. Texted her, no reply. Hours turned into a full day, and still nothing. It's strange how fear and anger can live in the same place inside you. Part of me was terrified something had happened to her. Another part of me was afraid she'd chosen to be with him. That night, I sat in the dark again, the same place I had the night she went to the party. Only this time, I wasn't waiting for her to come back. I was just waiting for the truth. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. It was a message not from her, but from an unknown number. If you're looking for her, check your emails. My heart pounded as I opened my laptop. In my inbox was a single email from Lena's address, sent 2 hours earlier. The subject line read, "I need to tell you everything." My hands trembled as I clicked it open. The message began softly, "Mark, I know I've hurt you. I know my silence broke you in ways I can't ever fix. But before you hate me, I need you to understand what really happened that night. I owe you the truth, even if it changes everything between us." I took a deep breath and kept reading. At the party, I tried to stay with my friends. I didn't drink much, but everyone else did. I was about to leave when Ryan came, the one from my office. He was drunk and angry about something. He kept saying things I didn't want to hear. He pulled me aside, said we should talk in private. I shouldn't have gone with him. I just didn't want to make a scene in front of everyone. When we went outside, he tried to kiss me. I pushed him away. People were watching. I felt humiliated, angry, scared. I yelled at him, and then I left. But before I got to my car, someone recorded it. They made it look like I was cheating on you. The person who texted me later, the one who wrote, "Did you tell him anything?" was the one who had that video. I stopped reading. My throat went dry. A video. I scrolled down. They said they'd send it to you if I didn't stay quiet. That's why I didn't tell you everything. That's why I deleted the messages. I was scared you'd believe them instead of me. I thought silence would protect us, but all it did was destroy us. I felt something break inside me. It wasn't just pain, it was guilt, because I had doubted her. I had believed my fears more than her love. The email went on. "I left today not because I wanted to run away, but because I needed to confront the person who did this. I went to meet him, to get that video deleted. I can't let something false ruin us. If I don't come back tonight, it's because it didn't go as planned. But please know, I never betrayed you. I betrayed myself by letting silence win." The message ended with, "I love you, Mark. I just want to come home." I sat there, staring at the screen, my heart racing, my mind spinning. I didn't know whether to cry or to scream. All I knew was, I needed to find her. I called her again. No answer. I drove to her office, the cafe she loved. Even the small park we used to visit after work. Nothing. It was nearly 3 a.m. when I finally got a call. An unfamiliar voice said, "Are you Mark? There's a woman here. She said to call you." It was the police. They said she was safe, but shaken. Apparently, she had gone to meet the man who'd been blackmailing her. He got aggressive. Things escalated, and she called for help when I arrived at the station. She was sitting there on a bench, holding a blanket around her shoulders. Her eyes met mine, tired, red, but finally honest. The moment she saw me, she broke down. I didn't say a word. I just held her. And for the first time in days, it didn't feel like silence was breaking us. It felt like it was healing us. Later that morning when we got home, she told me everything again, slowly, painfully, with tears running down her face. She showed me the deleted messages, the threats, the screenshots. The man had tried to trap her, to make it look like she'd been unfaithful, just to hurt her reputation, and, maybe, destroy our marriage. It was all so cruel, so calculated, and all the while, I had been sitting in the dark, thinking she'd chosen someone else, when all she was trying to do was protect me. For hours we talked, we cried, we apologized, both of us, because even though she had hidden things, I had let doubt take root where trust should have been. By sunrise, I realized something powerful. Sometimes, love doesn't mean never breaking. It means breaking, and still choosing to rebuild. It means standing together, even when silence tries to tear you apart. Weeks passed. We went to counseling. She left her job, started fresh, and slowly, we found our way back to each other. I still remember one night, sitting on that same couch where it all started. She took my hand and whispered, "Do you think you can ever forgive me?" I smiled faintly and said, "I already did. The night you came home." She cried, and this time, I did too. But they weren't tears of pain, they were tears of release. You know, people think love ends when trust is broken. But sometimes, it begins again when both people decide to tell the truth, no matter how hard it is. And as strange as it sounds, I'm grateful for that silence, because it showed me who she really was, not someone who betrayed me, but someone who was strong enough to face the consequences of another man's lies. Now, when I look at her, I don't see the woman who went to that party. I see the woman who came back, bruised, honest, and brave. And I see the man I became because of her, someone who learned that forgiveness isn't weakness, it's love, matured by pain. Life isn't perfect now. We still argue sometimes, but there's honesty between us, and that's worth more than anything. So, if you've ever been in that place, the silence, the doubt, the fear, hold on. Sometimes the truth takes time to surface. Sometimes the people who look like they're walking away are really fighting their way back to you. And maybe, just maybe, the next morning, the one you didn't expect, will bring the closure you've been waiting for. Don't forget to watch more stories like this.